Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Top Dead Center. This edition here, thought we'd get into talking about this new Kohler single-cylinder engine that they unveiled this year at the Kohler technical update for a lot of people to see for the first time. It's like they took a lot of the qualities of the Kohler Courage single-cylinder engine and mixed in some of the decent qualities of the Briggs Intech single-cylinder engine, and you've got a perfect blend of the two right here. I mean, you just look at this thing, you start looking around it, and you just see little things here and there. You know, like the Nicky carburetor, the fuel solenoid, it's the same setup that the Briggs & Stratton Intechs use on them. You pop the air cleaner cover open, and there's that round air filter like you would see in the Briggs Intech engines. A few other similarities here and there. We'll get into a little bit of that later on here, but what we'll start with here is what Kohler has listed as their features and benefits. Okay, here they are, right as Kohler lists them right in their book that they handed out at their technical update. The first one is improved user perceived vibration up to 53% with Kohler exclusive triple balance system. Now, if you've seen the inside of these engines, that's a pretty nice setup there, and I'd imagine these things will have very little vibration to them. Moving on, preferred more than 3-to-1 in blind jury testing. Now, they don't tell you what the other engines were they're comparing them to, but okay. Next one, reduces engine noise up to 57%. There again, okay. I'll buy that, you know. But some of these cheaper tractors, they put these on, they're going to have that cheap muffler on there. You're not going to hear that actual engine noise itself anyway, but yeah, we'll give them that one too. Next one up, built to last with commercial engine design specifications. Next one, replaces Kohler Courage for model year 2018. Their next feature, manufactured in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. So this one is built right here in America. Larger bearing areas than competition. That's a plus. Largest air cleaner in the market. Like we said, you pop that thing open, and that's the air cleaner that you would originally see on those single-cylinder Briggs Intech engines, that round cylinder-shaped air filter. Had that like brownish yellow colored paper in there with the wire around it, and then later on they went to that white paper filter. That's what's in there. So maybe it's tied for the largest. I don't. If it is the largest, it's by a hair. The next two features they got listed here, we can combine them. Tool-free top access air filter removal and quarter-turn ergonomic air cleaner knobs. So this has the quarter-turn knobs on the air filter cover. Makes it real easy to get in there to it. Yeah, okay. Has the inverted oil filter, just like the Courage engines has. That means that this oil filter is actually, threads up onto the engine, not, threading down on it like the old Kohler Command single cylinders or into the side, but it's actually up and down on that. Like I said, if you ever saw the Courage single cylinders, same location, mounted the same direction, basically the same style setup there. Next up, easy to grip ring style dipstick. And this does have a really nice dipstick on it, real easy to pull in and out. Not a real pain in the butt one that sticks in there like some of those Courage engines, and a few of the twin cylinders they'd had were bugger to get the dipstick in and out. Funnel-free oil fill. They actually made the top of the dipstick tube pretty large on this, so you can easily dump a quart of oil in there without spilling it all over the place. Leak-free inverted crankcase joint. Now, if you know what they're trying to say here, then you get it. If not, basically this is, well, not basically, this is the exact same thing as the Courage engine. It is a bucket engine. So that means that instead of having an oil pan on it, everything is built in the engine. The engine is the crankcase is basically a bucket. Everything's in it, and it has the top plate. The closure plate is on the top. You remove it, and there's all your internals. So, if you got to put a new camshaft or an oil pump or something like that in this thing, you don't have to pull the engine out of the tractor. That's a benefit. Just pull the flywheel and everything off the top and take that closure plate off, and right there it all is. Carburetor moved further from the muffler. This is supposed to help with the performance. Smaller package size. 1.5 inches shorter and 1 inch narrower than the single-cylinder Courage engines were. Improved net torque throughout the working range. Significantly improved angle of operation through breather system relocation/redesign. Improved valve cover sealing design. What they did here was they used the good old Loctite sealant on there, and there's no gasket, so you just schmutz this valve cover right to the block, or right to the head, I should say. And it's going to be one of the ones that's fun to get off there without mangling all up and having to replace it when you have to go in there to adjust the valves or check anything out. Improved breathing and sealing on air filter. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll let them have that one too. That one is what it is. It wasn't anything real spectacular or commercial seal there or anything, but yeah, that's what they've got listed as their features and benefits, and I touched on a few of them there. The big one that they have here, the first one they have is the improved user perceived vibration up to 53% with Kohler exclusive triple balance system. They've actually got the balance gears in this thing, kind of like the setup in the old K series and the old Magnum single cylinder engines. It's not like Briggs where they're swinging counterweights. It's a little bit more like the K series to me. That's what it reminds me of. But you remember the Command single cylinders had that balance gear in there too to help them run a little bit smoother. So this is going to be a huge benefit, because so many of those single cylinder engines just vibrate and shake and rattle, and it's really not fun to ride a tractor with a single cylinder on these days. I mean, they make the engines so cheap, and they make the tractors that they're putting them on so cheap. So this will at least give you a little bit more comfortable ride and drive when you're mowing, if you have one of these engines in there. Let's see, what's another one here? I like the fact that it's made in America. The larger bearing areas than the competition. That's definitely a plus. That'll, definitely help this thing last a little bit longer. I like the idea of the inverted oil filter, because, when the oil is pushed in there, everything gets trapped at the bottom. That's a great concept there. And plus, when you go to take that oil filter off, you're not just dumping oil all over the place and making a mess. It's going to come off. The oil's going to stay in there. You put some fresh oil in a new filter, thread it right up on there. You don't have to worry about your pump running for that little while with no oil circulated through there, because you're dumping the oil that you put into the filter out as you're trying to get it threaded onto the block. So that's a good one. That's a good move there. Putting the carburetor a little bit further from the muffler. That'll help keep the fuel system from vapor locking if you get in some real extreme hot conditions and stuff. The fact that it's a little bit smaller, a little bit narrower, that could come into play. You never know. Depends on the application of what they're going to try to put these on. The improved net torque, haven't got to really try one out. Single cylinders are just real dogs these days compared to the twins. I mean, it's just a noticeable difference. Yeah, like I said, with the improved valve cover sealing design, I'm just not a fan of that with the sealant on there. Yes, it works very well. Yes, it cuts down on the leaks you have, but when you've got an engine like this, or the Briggs Intech, where you've got to go in there and you've got to adjust those valves every so often, that's a pain in the butt. You pull this off there, you might as well figure on replacing the valve cover, because 9 times out of 10, you're going to bend it and mangle it up trying to get it off there. Yeah, it's an improvement over that terrible valve cover setup they had on the Courage single cylinder. that didn't last at all. But, Briggs, they were doing this. Well, the Briggs Intech single cylinders, if you remember, they had a valve cover gasket on them. Then they went to the sealant. And then later on, the engines that came through with no valve cover gasket and only had the sealant, if you want to make a warranty claim and you didn't have one in your warranty claim that you put a new valve cover gasket in there, the actual gasket and part number, they would kick it back to you and deny it. So, there's a reason that they went away from that and they went back to the gaskets. It's just easier when you got to take that thing off that much to adjust these rocker arms and stuff, or to even check them. It's just handier. Well, not much more that they have listed here in their features and benefits that we really need to discuss. So they do mention in here that this will be a replacement for the Courage single-cylinder engines for the 2018 model year. But the thing is, if you have something from previous years with that Courage single-cylinder in there, this is not going to be an exact direct bolt-in replacement, if you need to replace one of them Courage single-cylinders. The biggest noticeable thing there is that the exhaust port on this is at a 45-degree angle, kind of like those old Kohler K-series engines, So in order to put one of these in to replace a Courage single cylinder, you would have to modify the exhaust on there, cut the pipe and re-weld it, or just, replace the whole muffler with a newer style. They are going to have the smart choke option available on this. It's basically just, electric choke setup like you see on the Briggs single cylinder Intex. Very similar to that. They've got their own terminology and parts for it, but it's really the same idea. Looks like they're going to offer these in one package for lawn tractors and another for zero-turn mowers. So I guess maybe you'll be seeing them on some of the smaller Cub Cadet zero-turns and stuff like that. I'd imagine the engines will definitely show up in the Cub Cadet tractors. They do have options such as an oil pressure switch available, a foam pre-cleaner for the air filter. Let's see here, 12 and 15 amp regulated charging systems. So that's a little different there. You'd think they would just go with one to cut down on the production of multiple parts, but I guess it all depends on the manufacturer's request. Another interesting thing about this engine is the oil pump is driven by the camshaft, and it's an actual oil pump down in there, kind of like you would see in the Commands. It's not just a gear pump like the cheaper ones that you see on the Briggs engines. This one here is a pretty decent oil pump that they've got in there, and it's driven by the cam, and the cam is a little funny looking because both lobes are real close to the actual cam gear, that rides against the crank gear, and then you have this long shaft there that essentially just kind of spaces it up, since it's a bucket engine and all this stuff like the oil pump is all the way down at the very bottom. So it's a little weird looking, a little different than what you're used to seeing. But it is a nice hefty cam, especially compared to the Briggs Intech single cylinder cam. Definitely give the nod to Kohler there on that one. Yeah, there's a few quirks about this thing, like I say, that you just kind of cringe about, and you'll have to deal with them. But overall, it looks like a pretty good option as far as a single cylinder engine, because let's face it, there's not a whole lot out there in the line of single cylinder engines for a lawn tractor anymore. Like I was saying, they make so many V-twins at this horsepower range now, and that's what a lot more people want. But this is a pretty hefty built engine, even for being a bucket engine. The cylinder head inside, that there's no combustion chamber on the cylinder head. It's all in the cylinder and the top of the piston. So it's completely flat except for the valve seats on the bottom side of that head. So I'd have to say right now, by looking at this thing, overall for being a single cylinder, I give this like a good 4.5 out of 5 stars, because look at its competition. You got the Briggs Intech, which that's nothing to write home about anymore. Not a whole lot of torque or power there from those things. especially if you put that on a zero turn. Then you got what? The MTD single cylinders that you'll find in some of the lawn tractors nowadays. Yeah, they run and they are what they are, but I mean, these Kohlers are American made and they're Kohler, so a little bit easier to get some support on them. The parts are a little bit more readily available. It's not where, oh, yeah, I had this seal or this whatever part here go bad and I got to replace the entire engine with a short block for it. This here is going to have all the different parts available and much easier to work on. And just overall, I think it's going to do pretty good. I think you're going to see a lot of them out there because of the lack of options. Again, it is what it is. Of course, I'd always prefer a V-twin, but like I said, if you have to have a single cylinder, this will be my recommendation. So definitely check one of these out. Like I said, I'd imagine you'll definitely see these in the Cub Cadet line. Not sure what else you'll see them in here and there, but for sure, if you get around a Tractor Supply or something, pop the hood of one of them Cub Cadets, and you'll probably see one of these in here. Give it a look over, see what you think. And any of you guys out there, you get one out in the yard and try to do some mowing with it. Run through some heavy grass, work it really hard. Get back to us. Let us know what you think. We'd love to hear some feedback on this. So to leave feedback, of course, you can always leave a comment in the comment section or send us an email, tdcvlogcast@gmail.com. That's tdcvlogcast@gmail.com. Send us some pictures, send us questions you got, anything like that. We're happy to take a look at any of it. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And hope to be back to you soon with some more information, some more new material. Thanks again.